Shalom, good evening from Jerusalem. Jane, just sitting here in my couch. Wanted to just talk to you a little bit from my heart, up close and personal. The sun has set, Shabbat is over. I got some candles here reflecting in my glasses. I'm wearing my fleece hoodie, but we have actually had 21 Celsius in Jerusalem today. So much is happening all the time. And again, I can only apologize if I become emotional speaking to you, but I think it's important to just be honest. It seems like almost every day now, every other day, every day, the Israeli Defense Forces, as they are taking more and more ground inside the Gaza Strip, are finding the bodies of murdered Israeli hostages. If you follow my social media, you know that I share about it every time. They found a couple of gentlemen, a couple of young men who had been murdered, and their bodies were brought into Israel. Then they found yesterday also two soldiers who were kidnapped on that horrific Black Saturday. Kidnapped alive. It was documented when they were kidnapped. They were filmed by Hamas while they were in captivity, and the Israeli Defense Forces found their bodies. Hamas had brutally murdered them. Then it became Shabbat yesterday, and I had just announced on my social media, on my Telegram platform, that I'm just going to pull back a little bit. I need to just emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, I just need to rest a little bit. So I had just made a voice recording and set that on my Telegram, and I'm sitting here on my couch, and then I hear the siren, and I'm like, what? Was that here in Jerusalem? So I opened my balcony door, and yeah, the sirens went off, which means that rocket attack towards Jerusalem. And I live right downtown in Jerusalem. So I just turned on my phone and just made I think it was an 11-second video. And then I was like, what are you doing? Get inside. You need to go to your bomb shelter. So I run into my bomb shelter, and I have to, pull the big steel plate. And I'm doing that while the siren is going on. And I barely, just literally managed to pull that. And then I hear the interceptions, I hear the explosions, I hear the Iron Dome shooting down rockets. So honestly, I don't know how long it takes for a rocket from when they fire it inside Gaza to reach me here in downtown Jerusalem. I don't know how long that is. But that was really very short time from the red alert went off till the rockets were here. So of course I documented that on my social media last night, and it just affects you. You can say whatever you want, it just affects you. So I'm kind of dealing with that. And then last night, the IDF came out with the horrendous news that 3 Israeli hostages, 3 young men who was kidnapped by Hamas in Israel, taken into Gaza, held hostage for more than 2 months, was mistakenly killed by Israeli Defense Forces. This is as devastating as something can possibly be. So the IDF went out and said, of course, they explained what happened. They apologized. They had to inform the families of these 3 young men. And what can you say? This is war. And this is an area, in Gaza where there are no civilians left. So the Israeli military, they assume that when we meet someone, these are terrorists, whether they're wearing their uniforms or, as many of them has done, taken off the uniform, of course, and is wearing civilian clothes. So what happened was that these guys came out, according to reports, not wearing a top, not wearing a shirt or a t-shirt, and they came out and the soldiers saw them, and one of these soldiers thought these were terrorists, and he shot two of them, and the last one got wounded. He withdrew back into the house, and then apparently he was calling in Hebrew help. He came back out and he was killed because, unfortunately, the Israeli Defense Forces thought that these were three terrorists. But in fact, it turned out that these were three of the hostages. So this is so devastating, horrendously devastating for the families, for the soldiers who did this, for the whole army, for the whole nation. The chief of staff from the Israeli military was out saying, this is the IDF, we take responsibility. I'm the commander-in-chief, I take responsibility. So this is just so absolutely heartbreaking. And just right now, the name came out of a young woman, 27-year-old from Haifa, another hostage that was taken alive and kidnapped into Gaza. And the Israeli military just found her body, also murdered by Hamas. So it's hard to describe what it's like when people ask if you are okay. No, I am absolutely not okay, and there is nobody in this country that is okay. And when I still see mainstream media's focus on the innocent civilians in Gaza and their needs, but Israel still have more than 100 hostages held by brutal Nazi Isis Hamas, raping them, torturing them, starving them, and then when they want to, they murder them. And then they are recording videos and sending out with their psychological warfare. So it's a very, very difficult time. That's all I can say in this country. It's a very, very painful and very, very difficult time. I cannot imagine the families of the hostages. It was said now that the leader of Israeli Mossad was meeting with people to try and see if they can make a new hostage deal. So we will see if that happened. We just had rockets being fired towards Galilee that was shut down in Galilee. Rockets are still fired in from the northern part of Israel. We are being attacked by Hezbollah. So when people ask me, Jane, what is it like in Israel now? Mourning, funeral, grief, trauma. The people who survived the music festival, the people who survived the attacks, but the atrocities that they saw, the people who had loved one murdered, whole families were wiped out. Some families, now I was just watching about the photographer from Ynet who he was murdered and his wife was murdered in front of their 3 children. And then the youngest one, Abigail, was kidnapped into Gaza, and her her older sister and brother were hiding in a closet for 14 hours on that day, with their mom lying outside murdered right in front of the closet where they were hiding. And now these 3 precious children, where the youngest was held captive, she's now back in Israel, now they have to grow up without parents. So every time we think that you're just trying to have some sort of understanding or dealing with your grief. Another hostage were found murdered, or this horrific, devastating incident yesterday where 3 hostages by mistake are being killed by the army. It's very difficult. It really is. And then all of a sudden they're firing long-range missiles or rockets towards Jerusalem, which haven't happened for weeks. And it was not until today I saw that these rockets came over my head and they were intercepted right down here. So that's why this is the closest I have had rockets to me. I shared some videos where you can see they are being filmed by Arabs living in East Jerusalem. They're cheering on because they know these are rockets coming from Hamas in Gaza to try and murder the Jews. Well, if the rocket fell, it would have killed them too. So that was rockets over my head on a very, very close range last night. So here we are. I don't even know, I have lost count now how many days we have been in this war, but Hamas is still able to fire rockets all the way into the center of Jerusalem. And I shared a video where you could see the people praying down by the Western Wall, just below the Temple Mount, was running for cover when the red alert came on. So this is a hurting country. This is a wounding country. This is a traumatizing country. You know, every time when we think it can't get worse, it is getting worse. And like I said, Israel still have hostages held inside the Gaza Strip. But now it's like every day we are being informed they found a body of another one who was killed. So it's it's a very, very painful time. So again, as the Gentile living here for so many years, reporting about every single terror attack, when Jewish fathers was out walking in a park and being, chopped down with an axe, like it happened several years ago, or, I just need to go on Facebook and look at my memories. And I can see, 1 year ago there was a terror attack, someone was murdered. 2 years ago there was a terror attack, someone was murdered. 5 years ago there was a terror attack and someone was murdered. So there's just a lot of trauma in this country. So you can really, for such a time as this, you just can't stay quiet. The Israeli Prime Minister is going to go on and give a speech now tonight. In about an hour and a half. So of course I will keep an eye on what he's saying. So rockets flying into Jerusalem last night. I was running to my bomb shelter. 3 hostages tragically killed by the Israeli military, taking them for mistaken identity, thinking they were hostages. More hostages are being found murdered in Gaza every day. Soldiers are being found murdered in Gaza. Rockets are flying in from the north. Right now in the Galilee, they were shooting down rockets. And again, like I said, also from Hezbollah in the north, and also, down from the south with the Houthis in Yemen. So we can really use your prayers for such a time as this. Thank you for praying for me. Those of you who write to me and say, we care about you. Jane, how are you doing? Please continue to pray for me. I need to find my new home very, very soon, so I know where I'm going and I can plan accordingly, because I have to move February 29, the last day of February. So thank you for those of you who have sent in donations. I don't have an income, only living by donations. So I really, really appreciate that. I will share the link to my GoFundMe page, because that has my whole testimony. If you want to know more about me, for those who don't know me, just go on the GoFundMe just to get information about me. And if everybody will please just, I don't ask everybody to donate, but if you could share out my donation platform, GoFundMe, and more people will get to know about me, and then you can reach a lot of people I don't know about. And maybe they say, you know what, we want to bless her so she can continue to be in Israel and to be our eyes and ears. Pray for Israel for such a time as this. Bye.